Hi everyone, welcome to Everyday, your daily stop for virtual reality content. My name is Dee, and today, after many years of waiting, I have finally got my hands on my very own Oculus Rift consumer version. You see me awkwardly holding my Rift like this because I am actually recording all of my commentary in this episode just using the Rift's built-in microphone, so you can get an idea of the microphone quality. It is located on the bottom of the Rift on the left-hand side, and I tried this with the HTC Vive. I did not get good results, but people say the Rift's mic is a lot better, so I have a lot of hope for it. I got this Rift as part of a bundle from Best Buy. I ordered the bundle online. I returned the PC because I didn't really need it. And so now I have this Oculus Rift and the one I pre-ordered that will come later in May. And I do need two of them in case, so I have one for home, one for work, in case one dies, that kind of thing. I have both a Rift and a Vive now. They're both hooked up to the same PC. They both work separately. I can switch between them at any time. I can even run them simultaneously in different applications, which is just weird. Anyway, today we're going to be checking out Oculus Home, the application launcher. And this is a new feature that's been fully developed for the consumer version of the Rift, and it gives you a really nice experience for launching your applications, similar to what we've seen on Gear VR. Without further ado, I'm going to jump in and show you what it looks like. Let's go. All right, here we are in Oculus Home. It says welcome to Oculus Home at the top. Oculus Home has not been featured in a lot of videos, mainly because by default it does not have a mirror window, so you can't actually see it on your desktop, and that means you can't record it either. A guy on Reddit, made a very convenient Oculus Home unhider utility. I will link to that in the description, which enables me to record it. So the main features of Oculus Home, it's got a list of applications that you've recently installed sitting in front of you. It's got, well, these are the recently installed or recently executed applications on your left-hand side. Over here in the middle are, I guess, featured applications. Over here is your friends list, which so far doesn't do anything except for tell you what games your friends are currently playing. And to get around, whereas Gear VR had like a touchpad on the right-hand side, there's no controls on the Rift itself. Instead, they give you this. This is the Oculus Remote. A lot of people first saw this and thought it was stupid, but the Oculus Remote is honestly pretty handy. Like, you want a gamepad if you're playing an actual game, like Lucky's Tale or something, but if you're just like selecting things from a menu, if you're just playing videos, doing Oculus Cinema, stuff like that, this is really nice. It's like it's got like 3 buttons. It's really easy to keep track of where everything is. Very small and light. You hold it in one hand. So I'm actually a big fan of the remote. Do I have any friend requests? No friend requests. So I need more friend requests. So you guys need to go add me if you already have an Oculus Rift or even a DK2. You can install the Oculus Home software and run it on your DK2. Just go add me at Everyday VR, same as my channel name, and I will accept you. All right. So I have purchased a lot of things. I've purchased a lot of things from the store. I've purchased everything from the store. I believe I've purchased literally every application that currently exists on the Oculus Store. Some of them are really great experiences. Some of them are really stupid experiences. But I want to give you guys a full review of every Rift game that exists, every Rift application that exists, so that you know what to spend your money on, because we are talking about actual money now. These are not free demos. Well, a few of them are free, like Invasion, that kind of thing. But for the most part, these are games that cost money. And Oculus, unfortunately, has a no refund policy, which means if you don't like the game, if the game makes you physically ill, it doesn't matter, they don't care, you are not getting your money back unless they are feeling generous. So that's kind of the way it is. It's very unfortunate. Steam still has their much more generous refund policy, which basically says you can return anything, I believe within a 48-hour period. You guys can correct me on that, but it's basically whatever you don't have to have a good reason. You don't have to have any reason. You can return anything, whereas Oculus is clearly being a lot more restrictive, and that's unfortunate. I hope we'll see a loosening of that policy in the future. Anyway, so while I'm browsing through here, let me talk a little bit about these. So let's start with the top selling. So Chronos. Chronos I played a little bit of. It's amazing. It's basically kind of a Zelda style adventure game. The basic premise is you're a guy going through this old abandoned cave slash building, and you're fighting monsters, and your goal is to kill a dragon who is oppressing the human race. And its gimmick, or its style, is that in every room the camera is in a fixed position, and then when you go to the next room, the camera jumps to the camera position in the next room instantly. So this makes it an extremely comfortable experience, even for people who tend to get sick very easily, and it allowed them to design their environments around it. So it's very, very cool. I just got Eve Valkyrie when I got this pre-order in a couple days ago. I have not gotten a chance to try it yet. It's a space dogfighting game. A lot of people really swear by it. Other people find it kind of dull and like not as interesting as they were hoping. It really depends on how committed you are to space environments. Project Cars, it's a racing game. It's a very good, very complete, very deep racing game. And it has Rift support, so a lot of people are into that. Adrift, I don't know what Adrift is about. It's a space game, obviously, but I need to play it. Apollo 11, I did a demo of that earlier. It shows you the experience of astronauts going up to the moon. It's kind of an educational experience. It replays kind of all the things they went through on their trip. Technolost is one I'm really looking forward to. It's an adventure game in VR that's set in a cyberpunk dystopian future. I'm a fan of adventure games in general, and I would love to see how they make the transition to VR. So this is just a small sample of some of the top selling games, and I want to try all the stuff. I want to play every single game that's in the store, but I will need help prioritizing them to make sure I cover the most important ones first. You'll see each of these games has an installed, indicating I have installed it. If I had purchased it but not installed it, this would say purchased, and if I had not purchased it, this would actually say the price. One of the weird things about Oculus Home is you can't actually see the price of a game after you purchase it. They're like, well, now you've bought it, you don't care about the price anymore. But it's like, what if I want to know? Do I have to create another account just to see? So that's weird. It shows you the file size. Chronos is one of the biggest ones, 6.7 gigs. Some of them are quite small. Jaunt, the app I work on, is no more than 50 megabytes because most of the content's downloaded on the fly when you run it. I'm not sure what the largest. Chronos is definitely one of the largest. There's also these little icons in the corner that I need to talk about. So notice the little green circle, and I click on it, and I look in the right. Little green circle means comfortable. Comfortable is the highest comfort rating. It means pretty much anybody should be able to play this, and if they get uncomfortable, well, you're kind of screwed. You really need to take time to adjust to VR because these are the most comfortable things they could possibly design for or imagine. Then we've got stuff like Apollo 11, which get comfort moderate. So this means like there's some camera motion, there's some uncomfortable stuff going on, but most people can kind of handle it most of the time. If you're not super susceptible, you'll probably be okay. It's really vague. Different people have problems with different kinds of motion, and this very simple scale does not really capture that effectively. And that's part of why the no refunds policy bothers me, but they do give you some amount of guidance. So if you're really susceptible, you probably don't want to jump right into these games. And if you're somewhat comfortable with VR, you might be fine with these games, but not be fine with the intense games. So an intense game would be like Eve Valkyrie, where you're just turning like in all directions in space, and you're turning along yaw and pitch and roll and doing all kinds of dogfighting maneuvers, and stuff is spinning everywhere, and that's really intense. And I'm glad that these games were not just automatically excluded from the Oculus store. Like Oculus could have just said, like, we want all our customers to be comfortable. We don't want anybody to get sick and to, make the platform sound bad, to make our hardware sound bad. But I think they decided to take the more conservative route of saying, or the more, the more permissive route of saying that we're going to allow these intense experiences that are definitely going to make some people uncomfortable or sick, and we're just going to mark them as intense. It's like play at your own risk kind of thing. So if you're like me and you just do not get VR sick in any situation, these games are going to be fine for you and you can enjoy the more intense experience. And if you're not, then you might have to play some other games, build up your VR legs, get more comfortable with VR, and then maybe consider one of these more intense experiences. So it's interesting kind of how the assets are used in here. So there's this logo that shows up at the top. It's always a transparent PNG. This is also shown while you're purchasing the title. It shows you what input methods it uses. So if you're some of the applications use the Oculus remote, some of them use the controller. It comes with an Xbox One controller. Believe it or not, this is the part that took me the longest to set up of any part of it. Where is my Xbox One controller? Is it lost? Where are you? Oh, there it is. I was looking through my nose hole there. So Xbox One controller. It's wireless, which is great for VR. You want to be able to spin around in your chair and not feel the wire tugging at you. Like one wire. My general rule is in VR, you want 0 wires, like Gear VR, or 1 wire if you really have to, like the Rift and Vive. And you do not want any more wires than that. You figure out a way to get rid of your other wires, because the more wires there are, the worse your life is. So a lot of the games require that gamepad, and it's a good thing it ships with it, because you would not be able to play 99% of the titles without it. And honestly, I think that was something they screwed up with the Gear VR launch, is like there were a bunch of titles that at launch required a gamepad to play, and but like 90% of the people who had Gear VRs just didn't own a gamepad. They didn't bother to buy one because it was an optional accessory. And so as a result, all of these games that required a gamepad just didn't sell. So I think it's great that they kind of set a lowest common denominator for the available hardware and make sure that everybody can play all the games on the Oculus Store as soon as they get their Rift. Provided they have the hardware, of course. So it has a media section on all of the titles. This just shows you some screenshots. Obviously, this is a very simple representation of the game. Honestly, this tells you almost nothing about it. Let's be honest. Like, here's some stuff happening. You get an impression it involves, like, spaceships shooting. Like, that's, I mean, you could have guessed that much. Like, you could guess that much from watching any video of it on YouTube. And that doesn't give you an impression of what it's really like in VR. It doesn't give you a clear impression of kind of what the goals are, how long of an experience it is, or how short. There's a lot of questions that are not really answered here in the store that you kind of have to get out of the store and browse online to get answers for. And that makes it definitely a little bit frustrating. I'm hoping that as time goes on, we're going to see things like reviews in the store. We're going to see more detailed overviews, more detailed properties. But for now, this is definitely a good start. They give a genre here, like action shooter, but as you know, genre classifications mean almost nothing. So this is Oculus Home. Oh, you can actually sort by comfort. That might be a new setting. Okay, anyway. So this is Oculus Home, and I think I haven't talked about the environment yet. So this is a lot of apps. Gear VR in particular, their Oculus Home environment uses a 3D uses a fixed stereoscopic sphere that completely surrounds you. So it's 2 spheres with a texture for your left and right eyes, with a texture on each sphere. And they can render, a fairly sophisticated environment that way. They just pre-render it and bake it and then texture it on the sphere. The problem is that kind of sphere-based environment does not support parallax. So you'll notice right away, if I move my head to the left or right and I lean around, you'll notice that the books and the floor behind the books are moving with correct parallax. The cat is moving with correct parallax. And even those distant objects back there are moving just a little bit with correct parallax. And that definitely makes this environment feel a lot richer, a lot more realistic. It has full positional tracking. It has correct parallax. It's a real-time rendered environment, but it's a very, very pretty one. And it's one that has been designed to be viewed from a single viewpoint, which is fine, because this is where you're always going to be in Oculus Home. So a few of the things that are here, it's a little bit weird because they've got like right next to you, they've got this realistic style going on where it's like, here are some books. Here are some cats and the rug has detailed rug texture, and the rug has detailed fabric physics going on, and well, baked fabric physics. And the bean bags look realistic. And then it's like once you start to get like, and over there, like that sofa is the same, but the fireplace has this weird like stylized polygonal thing going on where it's like making little cube-based flames, and the trees in the distance have like little triangles for leaves, and the clouds are doing this polygonal thing. Like if you look at Dream Deck, there's one scene where they have like a river and a fox and a rabbit around a fire, and everything is polygonal, just like those trees. So I think that's a style that they're going for deliberately, but it's a little bit weird that they're mixing that with this ultra realistic style that's right next to you. I do like that they have kind of the water areas. Um, I'm not clear if that's like water under glass or if it's just like water just like in a little moat, and if I'm protected by the moat and people have to walk across the rock bridge to get here. Um, You'll notice that if you look up the stairs, so first of all, there's cool artwork everywhere. I don't know what all this artwork represents. I've never seen a lot of it. It might be references to stuff, or it might just be original work. Um, anyway, what is that? That's like a painting of a robot or something? Okay, so if you look up the stairs and you look up in the distance, you'll see that way over in the distance, there's a whole bunch of other rooms just like this room you're in. And I think that's intended to convey that you are one of many players in this virtual world. And likewise, there's more kind of apartments over there. And I believe there are some, and there are some back there. So they're kind of everywhere all around you, floating in the clouds in the distance. So you are just one of these players with your own Oculus Home and your own set of apps. And it's a cool aesthetic. It's a cool concept. And I like that. And I like the floating stairs. Like they do a good job of combining something that feels realistic, like a real home, with something that feels surreal, like this could never happen. Like these stairs are not just going to stay there by themselves. That's never going to actually happen. So, and you're not going to be floating, your whole apartment is not going to float in the clouds by itself unless you're, living in the world of BioShock Infinite. So it's an interesting aesthetic, it's interesting style choices, it's interesting mixture of elements that kind of conveys a sense of surrealism, and I think that the artist behind this really did a good job. Um, I don't think I've seen anybody else at this point do a menu world that had this feeling of that had such a sophisticated, fully real-time rendered with correct parallax, with all these complex elements in it, and all these and just all this aesthetically pleasing, beautiful textures and shaders and all this. Usually they're a lot more simple. Um, let's see, what else do I want to talk about? So let's go through some of the stuff, some of the categories. So games. Games are games. You know what games are. And Farlands is a first-party title that Oculus announced at the launch of the Rift. It's basically like Pokemon Snap, except with aliens in VR. If that sounds cool, let me know, and I will play it. And here's Lucky's Tale. It was and Eve Valkyrie. Those are the two that you got for free if you pre-ordered the Rift. And I've played a bunch of these, and a lot of them are really cool, really fun. I've played Elite Dangerous a little bit. I've played Flight Akuma. I've played Chronos. I've played so many of these, and there are so many more to play. I want to play The Vanishing of Ethan Carter because that's my kind of experience on narrative-driven stuff. There's so much to do here, and there's so many games, so many games. This is the largest category by far, by far. So that's all the games, 8 pages. Entertainment. These are these are best characterized as real-time rendered passive entertainment. These are all short animations where your actions have little to no effect on what unfolds in the animation, but they are still real-time rendered animations. They're not just pre-recorded video. And this is all 6 of them right now. Most of these are only one short that only last a few minutes. And Oculus Dream Deck is actually a set of like 8 of them, and this is what plays at the end of the Oculus Rift setup. I didn't talk much about the setup, but basically all I want to say about it is it's incredibly easy. When I set up the Vive, like the Vive was not a huge deal to set up, but the real challenge was clearing the floor space I needed to actually do room scale VR. On top of that, I had to install the lighthouses. I had to route the sync cable between the lighthouses because I was occluding them from seeing each other and performing optical sync. And all the steps I had to take to eventually get to the point where I could play room scale VR. Whereas I got this Oculus Rift today, and like 30 minutes later, I was in here doing experiences and tracking was perfect. I just plopped the sensor down on my desk, aim it somewhere in the general direction of my face, I'm good to go. Like, this is so easy. It will work for anyone in any kind of space, and it's incredibly fast. So that's definitely an advantage for a lot of people, especially people who want to get into VR but don't really want to like do a lot of work to get started. They're like, oh, I guess I'll buy it, I'll check it out, but I don't want a lot of fuss over this. Kind of the reluctant VR enthusiast. So then there's apps. Apps are basically things that are not games that still have a bunch of stuff going on inside them. So Ocean Rift, for example, is just pretty much an experience. It's a thing where you walk around the bed of an ocean and look at fish and stuff. Jaunt is the application that I work on at my company, Jaunt. It plays 360 videos, usually of live action content, with a few exceptions. And it does the buffering times currently can be quite long because it does download everything at the highest available quality that Jaunt has. But that's on the other hand, that also means it does fully saturate the pixels on the display, so you get pretty good stereoscopic quality in terms of resolution. There's definitely a lot we can still improve about that application. Oculus Video is where you can go to get Oculus Cinema, watch movies, watch 3D movies in various cinema environments that Oculus has designed. You can watch 360 movies from Facebook, from sources like that. And the 360 Photos app, where you can just check out high-resolution 360 photos from various environments. This one's almost identical to the Gear VR version. I actually prefer the Gear VR version of this app because the Gear VR display has more pixels on it. So 360 Photos actually uses those pixels, unlike most Gear VR applications. So you get more detail, more sharpness on Gear VR, but it's still very, very good on Rift. And you have perfect tracking on Rift, so that's always nice. So what else? Early access. They give you a warning for early access because this is the stuff they don't really want you to play because it's kind of work in progress. So there's a lot of random stuff here. Like Euclidean is one I played in a former video. It's the one where you fall very slowly through water while being assaulted by various geometric shapes. Subnautica was one that I tried out earlier. It was quite uncomfortable. It's kind of an undersea exploration, very Minecraft-like in terms of its interface. And like Minecraft, it has the problem that it's not the locomotion is not especially well suited for VR, and it can get quite uncomfortable. So that's really a work in progress. Is there anything else here? Yep. So there's a couple other things here, but these are all like very, very early, very rudimentary. And I think they put them here because they wanted a place to get these more exposure, but they didn't want to kind of put this out as like the best of the best content that's available right now. So I think this is kind of a holding station for stuff that is going to be, and in the proper store eventually, but right now it's just not quite there. Concepts. They give a warning for concepts as well. Concepts, I think, is a little bit different. So early access is more like stuff that is eventually going to be in one of the other categories once it's done. Concepts is more like stuff that's already done, but there's just not that much to it. It's a simple demo. It's showing some kind of thing you can do with VR that's maybe cool or unusual or, pushing boundaries, but it's not a full game. It's not a full experience. It's not a full product. It's just it's kind of like demos were in the DK1 and DK2 days, demos that they never had any intention of making into a full game. Close is a good example. This is one that already existed in DK2 days, and I did a video on the DK2 version of it, and this is very similar to that, but of course it looks better in the Oculus Rift CV1. And that's it. Then you can browse all and see all of them. Right now there are a total of only 10 pages of apps on the entire store, and there's 6 on each page here. So we're looking at a total of only 58 applications, and I mean that's a healthy number of applications, especially since a lot of them are larger games like Elite Dangerous, like Chronos, that have quite a few hours of gameplay. But needless to say, Steam has more than 58 games. Even in the VR category, Steam has more than 58 games. They're very early games, a lot of them, but it's going to be a tough fight to really keep the store curated, but also start to expand this into the realm of hundreds of apps. Part of the challenge is that they this interface is not going to scale terribly well to hundreds of apps. There's no search functionality at all. The desktop Oculus app does have search functionality, which is nice. So you can always take off your headset and then use the search box and find something quickly and just start it on your desktop and then put your headset back on, which kind of works because you can type better when you can see your keyboard. But this is still awkward. I don't know how they determine what's featured. I think it kind of varies from week to week. They feature different content, different times. And I definitely feel like for stuff like games, which already has 8 pages, this is not going to scale when they have, 200 games. So unless you really enjoy scrolling. So this has been Oculus Home. Remember to add me if you want to be my friend on Oculus Home, and let me know which of these titles you want to play. If you already have Oculus Home, you can evaluate the titles. I'm just going to browse through them here. I'm going to go through all 10 pages nice and slowly, and you can pause on each one, and you can tell me which of these titles look interesting to you, or which ones you've recognized and would like to see me play. So let me know in the comments. Here we go. And that is it for today. Let me know what you think of this video. Let me know what you think of the platform. Let me know what else you want to see. If you want to see more Vive content, let me know that as well. Let me know what games you want to see on the Vive. Let me know if you want to hear more about the hardware. I definitely, at some point, would like to do a Rift Vive hardware comparison. I will warn you that my basic verdict is that they are extremely similar, other than, of course, the fact that the Vive is focused on room scale and has hand tracking, which is a big deal. And the Rift is kind of a lot more consumer friendly, a lot easier to set up, and that's the basic summary of it. It's more focused on seated VR. Vive is more focused on room scale VR. So that's the basic summary. If you want to know more, I will do a full video on it later on. And that's all for today. Let me know what you want to see, and everybody have a great every day.